Hello everyone, welcome to Staying Indian, the NRI Podcast. Today we are here with Ritika Mehra joining us from Netherlands. Ritika is the founder of Bridging the Gap Foundation. She is also a recipient of Knighthood from Clemente of Amsterdam, and at a young age she is the first Indian woman to achieve this honor. She organizes a lot of events through Bridging the Gap Foundation like Diwali Festival, Holi Festival, and she helps a lot of Indians to settle down into Netherlands and call it their home. Welcome, Ritika.
Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Thanks for taking out the time, Ritika. And I wanted to start with a quick introduction. How did you come up with the idea of starting Bridging the Gap Foundation? What are the core, strengths of your foundation?
I always say the inspiration came from my parents from growing up. They themselves started many NGOs as well to bring people together, and saw how my mom, she was like the head of the Indian community, for example, or she was part of the parent teacher association. Always seen like how giving back to society has to be a part of life. So that's at least how I was brought up. And my inspiration really came when I saw my parents dealing with, new Indians or new expats that came to the Netherlands and would be lost, and how they worked together with them, not on a professional basis, but just on a very friendly basis, small things, inviting them over for tea, or my mom would be on the call with someone until late at night because, they're not settling very well or they're really confused. So I think that's where the seed got planted. And then back in 2008, the municipality of Amstelveen and KPMG, they wanted to host the very first Diwali festival here in Amstelveen. It would be the first one from mainland Europe. We're one of the longest ones that have been there. They called my dad in. I just finished off university, and he said, well, come on with me, see what you can do to help. And after we hosted our first Diwali festival, I realized that we need a platform that can bring people together. The last thing that I want for the Indian community is that we're living in our own complete bubble and in a silo. But it's also so essential for the local community to understand their changing environment.
Amazing. I think that's the reason why it's called Bridging the Gap, so that we can bring together the Indian and the Dutch culture at the same place. So it's an amazing thought, Ritika. And since 2008, we have become a larger community of
Right.
Indians here in Amsterdam across Netherlands. But also like to talk about your journey. You were invited to the Royal State Banquet to honor the Indian president as well. What was the
Right.
feeling like?
Well, first of all, there's no application process or anything like this, right? So it was just a normal work day, and I got this random phone call saying, "Hi, I'm so and so, and I'm calling from the Royal Palace. Are you?" She said a whole bunch of things, and she goes, "Are you available?" And I was really not in that mindset, so I was like, "Yeah, when is it?" And she gave me a date, and I was like, "Yeah, fine." She took down my details. And that was the end of the phone call. It was a really 5-minute phone call. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, wait, did I just hear this correctly? Did someone from the Royal Palace just call me? The timing that she's given me. So I called up my dad, and I was like, well, this is what's happened. And I called up my brother as well. And both of their reactions was, this is how fraud calls happen. This is how people take your details. This is how your bank gets empty. You should know better. You're in the banking world. And I was like, oh, I can't believe I fell for that. What else? So I didn't think anything of it. And then when the official invite came, and I was like, see, I'm not crazy. I have been invited. But I really held my breath up until the day, because I was like, maybe this is a horrible prank. And then, so at least I was not aware of the president of India doing a royal or a national visit or official visit to the Netherlands. So then I was also confused. Why am I being invited? Who's going to be there? And there's a lot of circumstances. I don't know if many people know, but the king and his queen, his mother as well, they used to, and they still do, they have this dinner where they invite very common people from the Netherlands just to have a dinner or a meal, just to understand what's going on. And I was like, oh, maybe I haven't been invited I have no idea. And then when it became known that it was for when the president is coming down, I kind of joined two and two together. But I was really scared still. I said, what do you think they're going to expect from me? I don't know anyone who's attended a royal banquet. The most logical person who should be invited for this was my dad, because he's been the pioneer, at least for me, to get all of this done. And he's also been knighted. So no, it was very exciting. It was really nerve-wracking. And I was very much just trying to stay in the moment and focus and observe everything around me. I want to make sure that I represent very well. So I want to represent my heritage, my roots, but still in a more modern way, and bringing, of course, the fact that I was born and raised here. The best way for me to do that was in a sari, and so I had a sari bought years ago for a special occasion, and I said, what better occasion than this?
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
You can never go wrong with a sari, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
so I mean, at this point, it's important to know a bit about your father as well, because you've stated a couple of times you're a second generation NRI, so to say. So tell us about your childhood and seeing your father helping Indians as well.
I was born and raised here along with my brother in the Netherlands. So for us, if you ask us, I think we feel like world citizens because we both also went to the international school. We have an Indian heritage, but we're born here in the Netherlands. And my parents emigrated here about 45 years ago when the world was so different, communication was so different. My mom was from Punjab, highly educated, but never even lifted a grocery bag in her life. All of a sudden comes to Netherlands, and then you are confronted with the fact that she had to do everything herself. And if I hear the stories about, how her struggles in the beginning and to see the woman she is now, I would have never imagined that she would have struggled with anything. For me, she's a bit like a superwoman. She manages everything very well. And then also same with my dad. He moved here actually with the hopes of going to the States. So he decided to go via the Netherlands. But after 1 year, he realized that he thoroughly enjoyed life in the Netherlands, and he decided to keep his roots over here. So both my parents, they've started a business, well, businesses, I would say. They've done a really great job in cultivating a home life over here, fostering a culture as well, and a sense of community. And they've been pillars for many people, and as well as pioneers. So they've been my true inspiration in this whole journey for myself.
Amazing. I mean, 45 years is a long time, right? So, and making a kind of successful business is a amazing feat. Kudos to your parents. But you were knighted quite recently, and
Correct.
what was that experience kind of, and that happened?
So indeed, I was knighted, and then you get knighted by again, it comes from the royal family, or the king is the one that knights you, but the actual official who gives you it is the mayor of your municipality. This whole knighthood has been a surprise for me. My father has been knighted, and that was 10 years ago. When they knighted him, they gave the list of accomplishments, but also the list of, let's say, organizations and milestones that he's been involved with to give back to community. And you just think, oh wow, someone's really achieved so much, in the last 35 years at that point, and it's magical. And then when it happened to me, it was such a surreal moment because I was totally unaware that it's happening. So I thought I was going to go meet the mayor on a Friday morning. And luckily I know the municipality quite well because I've worked so closely with them that they called me up to say, Ritika, you have the meeting with the mayor, but please make sure you dress up, because they know me. I would have just come in the most casual way possible. Friday morning, you can't expect me to dress up. But they're like, you're coming for a recording. We need to record something for the Diwali festival. So I was like, I was in that mindset, fine. And when I got there, I was like, okay, I noticed something's off. There's a lot of orange, but I thought it's for King's Day, and everyone's super nice to me. And I was like, maybe I'm just having a very, very good day. And then when the mayor came and he goes, well, congratulations, you're here because you're being honored. And I really had to look around, saying, he's not talking, he must be talking to someone else. I'm pretty sure it's not me. But as soon as he goes, no, it's you. I think the tears and the emotions just did not stop. And I saw my parents, I saw some of my friends and family coming in. My brother flew in from London, also surprised. So every time like something new happened, the tears just started all over again. And my brother, and bless it, this is the best thing about siblings because they know what's important to you. My brother had to WhatsApp me when I was sitting there saying, you need to stop crying. Your pictures look awful. At that point, I was like, okay, I got this under control. And again, yeah, no, it was just the mayor also read out, all like everything that I've given back. And there were things in there that I had completely forgotten about, but he was aware and that was brought up. And it was for me, it was also a bit of a walk down memory lane saying, oh, yeah, I did this as well. Oh, I remember this point, this was important. And I also not realizing that what I thought was normal or not such a big deal had such a large impact.
No, I saw some of the pictures and you were looking good, and so was your family. So, really nice pictures. But you were also talking about, kind of touched upon helping out families, and you have done it for generations now. So, what are the kind of challenges you have to deal with new people or Indians, but in particular, coming to Netherlands?
So, that's a really great question. And the biggest trigger is, and why I thought about Bridging the Gap Foundation is, imagine that you move to a new country, and let's say, for the sake of an example, very stereotypical situation is that you've got a family of 3, you've got a husband, a wife, and a child. And generally speaking, how it is, a husband already has a job, right? And this is especially pre-COVID time. So he goes to the office 5 days a week, has pretty long hours. The child has school that they go to, also occupied basically full time. Both these entities, they have the opportunity to make friends, and they have social connect, and they learn about their new environment. They're being stimulated. Now, who is left is the lady of the family. And it's going to take her some time before she finds maybe a job, if that's what she's looking at, or even find her way. But in those first 3-4 months, it is so crucial for that individual to feel like they belong, that they have a sense of family, or at least a friend, because otherwise those moments can be horrible. You feel so alone, you feel unheard. And you know what? It can also create so much disruption in a family environment. But however, the partners just come home from work, a little bit exhausted. It's not going to be the same amount of enthusiasm, excitement. And now, of course, if you move to the Netherlands in a time as winter in January, where, let me tell you, the sun goes down at 3 o'clock, and that some days the sun doesn't come out, it can be super depressing. So, I mean, this is one of the struggles that I think I first and foremost wanted to focus on. And this is why we do the events as well. We try and do Indian events once in 2 months. And we do Indian events because it's a low barrier. It's something that's recognizable. It's something that's open, especially when you've come from India to a new culture. You're more likely to find something that you're familiar with. And then you walk in and then you see, oh, I'm not alone. There's a whole bunch of other people with a similar background for me. And hopefully that will encourage you to also step out. It gives you a moment to dress up, gives you something to look forward to. And of course, if you get in contact with the foundation, we're always looking for volunteers. It's been moments, though, we've had people on the phone that they're going through difficult times. I remember years ago when I first started, and I was very young myself, this lady, she called me up. She goes, I just moved here 2 months ago, and I just found out that I'm deep into stage 2 cancer, and I have no idea how to go about it. I mean, I was 22 at the time, so I also had no idea how she has to go about it. But I worked together with my network, and I Googled, and I gave her some references. And, I can't take away her problems. I could only help her and guide her. What I felt was the most important is that I would reach out to her, sometimes have a cup of coffee. I think one time I baked her a cake. She was so kind. She still ate it. I think it was a really terrible cake. And eventually over time, the person is doing okay. So you lose contact. And then years later, something popped up. There was some other milestone. And she reached out to me and she said, I don't know if you remember me, Ritika, but years ago I reached out to you because I was going through this situation. I wanted to let you know I've totally recovered, but you helped me. And I was like, I didn't do anything. She goes, no, but in being such a strange country and that you took the time out just to, in the middle of the night, you'd send a message saying, hey, just thinking about you, or you'd send me some funny joke or whatever. She goes, it made me feel good.
Exactly. I think that's a very heartwarming story. And one of the reasons why we are doing this podcast series is to bring up stories like this to the people and be there for them, so they should not feel alone, and they have such kind of events, venues, people to reach out to. So you were talking about events, Ritika. So Can you tell us what kind of events Bridging the Gap Foundation hosts and some of the success stories around there?
For sure. So, I mean, we've been doing it for 15 years, and in 15 years, I have to say, we've evolved with the amount of events that we can do. It's a volunteer based organization, right? So, I have a board that's behind me, 100% volunteers. So am I. As time has gone out, our priorities have changed, family life and things like this. But one thing that stands is that we thoroughly enjoy meeting new people, and we thoroughly enjoy giving back, and we love seeing the smile on people's faces once we've done an event. So, I mean, some great events that we've had is like we had a cooking competition where everyone had to make a dish. It was a very small event, and we had a few judges there, and they tried it. We've done indoor cricket tournaments. We've done it in collaboration with other organizations. Independence Day, Republic Day, which are two fantastic moments for children to really take the lead over there, and that's what we do. We get them to set up the program, they host it as well, and they also perform, so it gives them a chance to put their skill set to use, but also learn something about their heritage. Our biggest events, of course, are Holi and Garba. So we're really a lot of our energy goes into that. And then, of course, I do also the Bollywood party in Amsylvane, Bollywood Dhamaka. So it's the longest running one at the moment. And pure Bollywood Dhamaka is purely done because I enjoy dancing and I enjoy going out. So this is why we still have it. And I have to say, I've been doing it the last 15 years, and every year I see a younger crowd coming in, or maybe the age group has stayed the same, but I've gotten older. I've come to the point where I'm like, as long as no one calls me auntie, I think we're okay. I think the moment that someone says this, I might have to stop doing this party.
Then you may be just there for kind of facilitating others and
Correct, yeah.
encouraging others, right? But yeah, you also kind of, in our last conversation told me about having this tradition of Mayor of Amstelveen doing some steps on Bhangra music. So what's that
Correct.
about?
So I'm also the spin-off of the Bridging the Gap Foundation is I would say the mother idea came from Diwali Festival, which is a completely different foundation, a different entity, and I'm the advisor to the board over there. So I basically try and execute as much as possible, setting up, vendors and the stage program, for example, and the restaurants. And 15 years ago when we started, we had a different mayor then, very outgoing mayor. He's now the mayor of The Hague, Mayor Fanzana. So he holds a very special place in all of our hearts for this, because he was the forefront, I would say, godfather of the Diwali Foundation. And I remember then is that he came just to see the festival, of course, because it's in Amstelveen. It's the first one, and the first year was such a success. It was 5,000 people in such a small tent. So he was loving the atmosphere, and he said to me, Ritika, I'd like to go backstage because I would like to meet the performers that are performing on stage. I said, and so he met, and I thought, Mayor, do you mind coming on stage and saying a few words? And he's a very, very open man. And he's like, yeah, of course I'll do it. So he came on stage, he said a few words, and I swear introducing him was like introducing Shah Rukh Khan. The kind of reaction and applause that he got was amazing. And then I put him on the spot. And again, this was in my naivety. I did not know that there's a certain protocol that I need to follow. I said, Mayor, now that you're here, I have something called Dhol, and it's from Punjab, and it's good beats. How are your dancing skills? Would you dance for us a few steps? Like, of course, yeah. So he went on and he danced. He set the tradition that any mayor and every mayor that comes to the Diwali festival has to take their moment to address the audience, but also has to dance. When I got off stage, his let's say his counsel was like, what did you do? How could you do that? I said, but luckily it went off well. And every new mayor that comes, all of them are like, no, I don't want to do this. It's not for me. Yeah, maybe it was for the last mayor, not for me, leave it, because they feel so uncomfortable. But once they get on that stage and they see, there's an audience that is so enthusiastic, and I have to say, as Indians, we've got or even the whole South Asian community, we are so passionate about song, dance, food. We can just show passion through and through, that the person who's receiving it gets carried away in a good way, feels like, I need to do this. And I also, for this mayor, I explained to him because he was like, "Why is everyone pushing me?" When he was new, that he has to be on stage because he didn't want it. And I said, "Sir, it's one thing you hosting a festival for the Indian community. It's a different that you're going to eat something, you're going to talk to a few people." But I said, if you truly want to show that you are an Indian in some form of the way, and you really, really enjoy this, I'm like, you've got to dance. That's when we know that you mean it. And he was a bit like, I don't know. And then he got on that stage, and the new mayor, current mayor that you see, he's about 2 meters tall, and I'm half his height. And when I said, "Oh, the mayor of Amsterdam," he said, "Happy Diwali, fantastic," and wow, that applause that he got. And then the ambassador was saying a few words, and he just leaned down to me like this, saying, "You can ask me to dance." And I was like, "Okay, change." And now, if you talk to the mayor today, he's like, 26 October, I'm going to dance. I've got it ready. What do I need to wear? What is the beat? He's good. They're all, I have to say, they're all great sports.
Yeah, amazing indeed. I mean, the Indian music, the Indian dance is catching up to the world as well. So, uh,
Correct.
and these kind of things make it happen, when people see our culture and they enjoy as well. That is, I think, the basis of the foundation as well. But, doing this for so many years, you must have seen a lot of changes happening in that time. So, how do you feel what has changed from, let's say, 2008 till 2024?
Indeed, I mean, there's a lot of change in our own diaspora, the type of people that are coming. First, it used to be a lot of family people that were coming to the Netherlands. And now I've seen a change that it's a lot of singles that are attending. And there's slowly becoming an equal mix of single women and single men. Before it was family people, and then it was just a surge of just young Indian professional men that were coming. And I think something's also the dynamic is changing in India that the girls are also coming out. So it's great to see that as well. And, hard working group in that sense. So I'm proud to say that all of us are coming to work hard. We are contributing to the economy, and that makes such a difference as well. I feel that over the years, especially those who come over here, they're a lot more inquisitive to learn about local culture, not only stay in their silo, but they want to experience new things, which is so nice to see. Because what's the point of coming abroad if you're not going to take that experience along with you?
What I was suggesting is, I think one of the events that you can do is, if there are a lot of singles, you can do speed dating events as well.
You know what? I was thinking about that, and I think for many years my father was also saying that to me. But I'm so worried that if I do that, only the guys will show up and not the girls. Because girls are a little bit more shy still in our society, in our community, when it comes to this. However, I do have to say that our Bollywood parties do facilitate some sort of a matchmaking. There are a few couples that have come out of that, even from Garba and Holi, that I'd be like, oh, I see it in the picture sometimes. I'm like, oh, what was going on there? And then a year later, I'm like, oh, look at that, they're a couple.
So if you're listening or if you're watching this, you know where to go. And if you're single, of course.
Absolutely.
Ritika, we also, talking about some macro level of things and changing. We have seen a lot of right shift in recent times. Do you think these kind of macro changes in the political stance and how world is going on would change things like, these events on a ground level?
I don't think it will the events on a ground level. I think what it is though that we as a foundation need to work extra hard to explain to people why these events are essential and encourage those from a non-Asian diaspora to come and attend them. I think that's where our job lies. We know the like leaving politics aside, it's really essential that we also explain that the Indian diaspora, like I said, we bring a value. We're working on an economy. We're not taking social benefits. We're not taking anything away from the locals. We're only contributing. As and the whole discussion that we have in politics today is based around, unfortunately, asylum seekers and refugee seekers. And in our case, we're quite fortunate that the Indian diaspora is not that.
Exactly, and wherever you go in these countries, we get a lot of respect due to that as well. That we are contributing
Correct.
to the local society, and we are trying to learn different cultures. We are open to adapt, And I think
Correct.
we've seen that kind of confidence from governments as well as that kind of relation building.
True.
But we have talked about adaptability from expat side. Is there a kind of accommodation or adaptability that governments or the hosting country also need to keep in mind when they are kind of accommodating expat community?
I think so. When I talk about when we first talk about adaptability, we have to first look at ourselves. I think as Indians, when they first move to the Netherlands, the first 2 years, it's all about just trying to settle down and figure out what you're doing. And then, then you're thinking, okay, what is my long-term plan? Am I going to stay here 5 years or longer? Those who think they're going to just stay here 5 years, I believe that it becomes a little bit of, we survived like this for the last 2 years. We can do the rest of our tenure like this. We don't really need to learn the language. We don't really need to learn the culture. And those who want to stay here longer, then you see that the effort is put in. However, I think, if we really want to brand ourselves well, we need to make an effort to learning a local culture and learning a local language. The Dutch, I have to say, are pretty good at accommodating expats as a whole by speaking English so well, which on our side makes us a little bit lazier as a, do we need to learn it because we're getting by? But the effort has to be two ways. I think it's also up to us if we learn the language or learn the way in which to speak to explain our culture, you're going to have the host country also understand you a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it goes both ways, as you rightly said, and making steps towards each other and learning each other's culture help you for the longer run. So, Ritika, any kind of final thoughts, messages, or any kind of stories that you would like to share to our audience?
I think, when we're talking about again, it's, adaptability and coming and bridging the gap, what I really want to say to everybody is that whether you're moving to the Netherlands or to a new neighborhood, there's such a big difference that the Dutch have from other countries is that when you move somewhere, the Dutch expect you to knock on their door and introduce yourself as a new neighbor. Make friends with your neighbor. I know in the States, when you're the new neighbor, everyone from the neighborhood comes and introduces themselves. In Holland, it's the other way around. And with just this small step, you would, you gain so many more friends in that sense, and make your neighbors your friends.
Indeed, so what we did once we bought a new house here, we kind of had a small token of appreciation or a gift, and we knocked on the doors and we, shared some cookies and said that we are. That's what you can do as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you open up the conversation, you make yourself available to each other as well, and you give insights into your own culture, and then you start off on a good basis.
And with that thought, Ritika, I'd like to thank you for your time. You're doing
Thank you
amazing
so
work
much.
and a lot of well wishes from Staying Indian family around the world.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, and please keep in touch and send me a message if you have any questions.
Thanks, Ritika. Jai Hind.